thank you all for joining us today for our Lean Bites. For those that don't know me, I am Danielle Bremer, the Chief Growth Officer here at Lean Techniques. If this is your first time here, welcome. It's great to see some new faces. And just as a reminder, Lean Bites are short 16-minute talks where we work to provide you with simple, practical tips and techniques that you can start applying within your organization today. A couple housekeeping items. Number one is if you have any questions throughout today's talk, please feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll either address them at the end if time allows or offer more insight in our follow-up email. And number two is please do us a huge favor and complete the survey that will automatically pop up at the end of the session. Your feedback is important to us. With that, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm excited to introduce you to Tim Gifford. He is going to be talking about measuring team efficiency and productivity with DORA metrics. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Tim.
Yeah, thanks, Danielle. So thank you all for being here today. I wanted to title this with like a clickbait title, like use these 4 simple questions to measure your team efficiency and productivity, but I didn't. I tried to make it not so clickbaity. Hopefully you're curious about this topic to at least join us today. So what do business folks care about from their software delivery teams? I feel like they want it sooner, they want stuff cheaper, and they want it at higher levels of quality. Well, how do we do that? Well, back in the day, we did a lot of waterfall type processes, which got a lot of its inspiration from mass production that focused on local optimization and specialization. And when you have these specializations and optimization, you end up just getting an expert, keeping them busy, doing what they're best at, and you keep them focused and doing great stuff, right? And if you do all those optimizations, you can break the work cycle down into requirements. You have the business analysts, experts do that. You have the design, you have the architects jump into there. You do the coding, you have the developers do that. Testers come in at the end and do QA, and then you hand it off to operations. And through all that specialization and handoffs, we end up with really large batches. But the promise was we were going to get high quality. But those large batches ended up leading to long lead times. So things took a long time to get done. And I felt like there was always this upper level like limit to a quality because we were batching these things through. It eventually got to the QAs at the very end, and they were hustling to get these large batches of multi-month development efforts quality checked for quality. And so it ended up squeezing quality at the end. Us people that were lean-minded always felt like this was weird. It didn't feel like it was the right model for things that were new. We're not creating the same widgets multiple times. And so we had a lot of examples and we had a lot of narratives that we pulled from lean literature, but we didn't really have any evidence. And so in 2013, Puppet Labs, along with DORA, which is the DevOps Research Assessment, that was a group started by Nicole Forsgren, Jez Humble, who wrote a book called Continuous Delivery back in 2010, and Gene Kim, who's probably best known for writing the Phoenix Project. They started publishing the State of DevOps report, and they started collecting a bunch of different data. They sent survey responses. They've collected survey responses, 23,000 orgs or survey responses. They got 2,000 orgs. These organizations spanned a range from companies from 5 people all the way to 10,000 people. And they were across industry, including highly regulated industries. And so this was really the first time we started to get some data. And in 2018, the people from DORA, Nicole Forsgren, PhD, Dr. Nicole Forsgren, Jez Humble, and Gene Kim, published this book called Accelerate. And this was really the first time we really got some scientific evidence to help support the claim that you don't need to sacrifice speed to get quality. This was the first time they actually found teams where they didn't have, they had high quality with very fast or short lead times. And what they were able to do in this with this study is they actually found that they could predict a connection. And this is prediction, this is more than correlation. It could predict from technical practices these measures called the software delivery performance metrics would lead to business outcomes or organizational outcomes, things like profit and market share, but it would also lead to better team member experiences and well-being, like less toil, less late night deployments, less burnout. And all you had to do this was to answer these clickbaity, these 4 simple questions. And those are the change lead time. Some of the names have changed over time, so sometimes I mess with them a little bit. But the change lead time, this is the time that it takes from the time we do our first commit until we get that out into production, whatever that work item is. The second one is deployment frequency. This is how often are you deploying to production? And these 2 are speed related. And then we balance the 2 speed related items with 2 other metrics, the change failure rate, which is how often do we need to mitigate, patch, roll back any of our deployments. And then finally, the failed deployment recovery time. How long does it take us to fix once we have an incident, how long does it take us to get it back up and running? And these 2 balance out really well. You've got speed and quality. And what they found during their research is that the teams with the highest quality also had the fastest speed, which was kind of unheard of, or people were starting to realize that through some of the DevOps practices and some of these technical practices, you could actually achieve these results. In my own personal experience, I've never really found a way that you can game the metrics. Like if you want shorter lead times, people tend to do smaller batches, right? And they get smaller and smaller stories and they get things deployed more frequently. Well, those smaller batches tend to lead to higher quality because it's easier to test fewer lines of code than it is to test more lines of code. And if in the lean thinkers, we think about single piece flow. So a lot of times I'll even ask teams, how long does it take to get a single line of code all the way out to production? And that can give us an idea of how long it takes just to get our very simple thing all the way through. And we should be able to do that in the highest level of quality, right? 1 line of code probably has the least amount of opportunity to be broken. So those are those 4 measures, and they're great because you can actually benchmark your teams against your specific industry or across all the industries. And we'll have a link that we'll share, I think, in the follow-up email that shows you where to do that. So how do you get started? From my experience, these are kind of the 5 main capabilities your team needs. And I put them in order, and we can debate some of the orders if you'd like, but basically we need to be able to do automated builds, and we need to be able to do automated deployments. In order to go fast, we just need that reliability of making sure that we're always doing the same process each and every time. We also need to have some automated quality checks in there because we want to have this thing that I call confident green. I want us to be able to have confidence that anytime our suite of tests is green, that we can go to production. And if they're not, there's a gap between your confidence and your test suite. And we need to find out what that gap is, why you feel insecure. And maybe there might be a missing test that we need to include. The third one is a feature flag. These are the capability for you to turn things on and off within your system. So you can go to production, but not necessarily release it out to users, not impact the users from doing it. And then one of the main revolutions has happened, in the last, I don't know the time frame, the cloud came around and we started being able to automate our provisioning and our usage of our cloud resources. So if we can use infrastructure as a cloud, infrastructure as code, it tends to make us quicker being able to make changes and release things. And due to those capabilities from the cloud, we're generally able to do 0 downtime deployments. And so if we have this capability, we can release as frequently, we can deploy as frequently as we want without impacting our customers. So finally, I talked about all the DORA metrics. I talked about the capability, some of the capabilities you might need to do it. But ultimately, I don't want you to use DORA metrics to communicate to your stakeholders. So my last little tip here is we get stuck in the tech industry, we get these interesting things, and then we end up going back to our business stakeholders and talking about them. And I want to warn us against doing that. Most of the time, our business stakeholders aren't going to care about those specific metrics. Now, they might care about this change lead time because they want to know how long from the time you start working on something. Generally, how long does it take you to get out to production? So how soon? I feel like understanding the change lead time is good to share with the business folks. The next one is how safe. And I like to see this example. If you walk through a factory, when was the last time we had a workplace injury? So that tells us how safe we're going. When was the last time we impacted our customers? And then finally, like, what is our unit cost for a deployment? And what this means is if you know you've got a team, let's say of 7 people, standard rate of 150 an hour, that's about $24,000 a week that team is burning. And so if it takes you 1 month to do a deployment, well, that's about 100 grand per deployment, right? If you're at 6 months, you multiply by 6 and it's like, oh, it's about $600,000 for every time that we do a deployment. And if we can drive those unit costs down, we tend to be able to work and react quicker to the market. And businesses tend to be interested in dollar figures. So finally, Lean Techniques is working on building a tool that captures and displays these DORA metrics in real time. If your company is using GitHub and you're interested in that, we're looking for about 10 companies that would be interested in helping us beta test the tool. So at the end of this session, there's going to be a questionnaire. I think there's an option for you to enter your email address. And if you're interested, we'd be really interested in making sure that this product is working well for you, for these 10 customers, and seeing there's other opportunities. So please put your contact information in there and we'll get a hold of you in the future. And I believe I am done. Thank you so much. I hope you got something out of this very short time period, and I'll turn it back over to Danielle.
It's work. We're usually running long, so great job in getting that done in the 16 minutes. So just to close here, thank you all again for joining. We will be sending this out to those that have signed up, so you can revisit the learnings today. If you have any feedback for us, you will be prompted at the end of this survey or end of this call with a survey. Again, please fill that out if you have the time. And as a reminder, please join us next month on the first Tuesday, 11:45 with Matt Smith. He'll be talking about how to start solving for any problem. You won't want to miss it. Be sure to check out our website or LinkedIn page for more details. Have a great rest of your day, all. And if you are interested in the DORA app, again, don't forget to reach out to us directly and we'll explain more about that.
Thank you all. Have a great day.